I am talking today with Cathy Koshland, the Vice Chancellor for Undergraduate Education here at UC Berkeley. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Annette.
Thanks for sitting down with me today to share your leadership story.
Happy to do it.
Can we start with a synopsis of your career path and how long you've been on campus?
Well, my career path is not the traditional one. My undergraduate degree from Haverford College is in fine arts, and then I worked in Washington for a couple of years. I actually went to art school in New York for a year and then worked in Washington. And in Washington had a job that got me interested in engineering. And so then when my husband went to Stanford Law School, I was a postdoc student in sciences and spent 2 years doing undergraduate engineering and science, and then got my master's and PhD in mechanical engineering.
That's a big difference from starting in fine arts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then came here as a assistant professor in 1984. Had 2 children while I was in graduate school, and then added another one at the end of my assistant professor time, and been on Berkeley's campus ever since.
So with all the campus leadership changes that have been happening recently, you have the unusual notoriety of being the longest serving, most stable senior leader that we have right now. How does that impact you?
To be honest, I don't really think about that on a day-to-day basis. My passion has been Berkeley, and my interest is to serve this campus as best I can, and that my role here is to make our deans and department chairs successful, and therefore then our faculty and our students. And so I'm always sort of looking ahead rather than behind. I do know I carry a fair amount of institutional memory. I think I like to be careful about that, though, because I don't want to put a damper on innovation or new ideas. I want to be open to new directions and new possibilities, and not assume that everything we've either tried in the past or just because we've always done it that way. I'm certainly not someone who thinks we need to continue to do something that way if, history is the only thing there. So it is a little daunting sometimes to know that I do know more about aspects of the campus than many of my colleagues, but as I said, I try to use that as an asset and not as a stranglehold on me or anyone else.
Well, I heard you speak at your division recently, at your staff summit, and you did sound quite optimistic about our future. You've obviously seen a lot of ups and downs in the 30-plus years that you've been here. So can you tell me what helps you stay positive in spite of our current challenging circumstances?
2 things, really. One is our incredible students and the opportunity to work with them or on behalf of them, the incredible range of characteristics that they have, the assets that they bring with them, whether they are undergraduates or graduate students. So they are part of the reason that I came to Berkeley and part of the reason I've stayed at Berkeley. And I'd say the other thing is the immensely talented faculty and staff that I get to work with as well. There's nothing better than having a really creative set of conversations, whether it's with a staff member or a faculty colleague, about the future. And this place hums, it goes, it runs every day. It runs in spite of changing leadership or ups and downs, and I think that's something we all have to keep in mind, is that Berkeley is a perpetual institution. It's going to be around a long, long time, and it's gone through ups and downs before, and it's an enormously resilient institution, and as I said, it's got a lot of incredibly talented, creative people who I think are working really hard to keep us moving in the right direction.
Well, this is one of those examples where I think your experience here, your history, is an asset for people who are newer because they haven't lived through all those ups and downs, and to know that we are resilient and will come through it like we always have.
Exactly.
What defining moments have occurred in your life or your career, and how have they shaped you?
Well, I'd say there's a couple of things. One thing that I think I've always been willing to do is to embrace a challenge when it's given to me, and that I haven't scripted my path. I've been in that moment of being prepared. So when an opportunity came along, I jumped on it, and deciding to study engineering and science at Stanford came apart from a conversation with my parents-in-law, who said, "What do you want to continue? Do you want to study art or engineering?" And there was nothing to lose in studying engineering. I could always go back to art. if it didn't work. So, it's being open and prepared for that possibility. And I think I've been able to do that at many stages. So there's not one defining moment in that respect, but it's being open to possibility. I mean, there have been times when it's been daunting. I the night before I became academic senate chair was like, what have I gotten myself into? Am I crazy? And I look with great admiration at my colleagues who take on that role. That position is one where you have to be ready to pivot and respond. There's often something unexpected happens under the watch of every single chair, and being ready and open to that is so that was a really important experience. That year as Senate chair was illuminating and rewarding. And then I'll say two other things. I'll say it's been incredibly important to me to have strong mentors and a good relationship with mentors. And I had my mother-in-law, who was also a faculty member here, was not just my mother-in-law. She was a very good friend and a really important role model for me and mentor in how to balance having a family and being a full-time professional. And then I had two faculty colleagues, one in public health and one in engineering, who were immensely influential and helpful at every stage of my career. And without Bob Spear or Bob Sawyer, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
So do you pay it forward and then mentor
I
other
hope
people?
I do. I hope I do. I hope that's something that I'm doing for colleagues. I've certainly done it at various points, and certainly for staff now, to provide support and guidance to many of them. And part of it is being willing to invest in someone that you think has a lot of talent and possibility, and then also being able to let them go when it's time for them to move on to a new opportunity, whether it's at Berkeley or someplace else. And that's painful sometimes. You don't like losing really, really great people, but you also feel really good that you've helped develop someone who then has an opportunity to move forward. So it's a little bit of both.
So the role you're in now is a new role, Vice Chancellor of Undergraduate Education. So is this a case of, as you described earlier, being both prepared and open to new possibilities?
Being prepared and open, and then also, it really was daunting. What that landscape of undergraduate education was supposed to be and how to shape it was not well defined at all. I think we're on a good path at this point. I think we're making progress. We have a few challenges and ups and downs, and it has been a little bit more challenging with a transition from a former EVCP to the IEVCP, and we've had to navigate a few things, but on the whole, I'd say we're headed in a good direction.
As you look back, what core beliefs have guided your choices and decisions?
I think there are a couple of things. One, I truly believe that education is a public good. Education, whether it's delivered in a public way as we do at Berkeley, or even in a private way like my alma mater or my PhD institution, it's a public good. And to me, it's something that every young person is entitled to have to at least try for and have an opportunity to be part of. It's all part of something that I think is an incredibly important asset for our nation, and not investing in that is a mistake. And so part of my passion, part of my commitment at Berkeley is driven by that education is a universal good. I think I'm also, a core belief is that everyone has the Quakers say the light of God in them, that or an inner light or something positive that you can tap into. And I think being able to see that in anyone, it's not always easy. We all carry, fears or biases or things that sometimes blind us to what that is that someone has to offer, but trying to hold on to that all the time and keep that as part of what drives me. My husband and I share a strong Jewish Quaker background that really is a core set of beliefs around doing good in the world and making an impact, and that's what motivates me.
What does it mean to you to be a leader?
It means listening. It means holding back on your solution to the problem right away. Because your solution, while one may be very capable and have a great idea, it's not necessarily the best idea. And even if it is the one that's ultimately decided on, you need buy-in, you need support. You can't go it alone. Especially in an institution like this, it's all about collaboration and community building and creating a sense that you've got the right momentum. One of the things that I learned in college and have carried through is the whole process of managing by consensus, where consensus is not unanimity. Consensus is understanding when agreement is effectively there and you can move it forward. And leadership is knowing when that moment is and how to move it forward without knowing that you're not going to get unanimity. That's not what consensus is. It's building enough support and understanding that you can say, okay, the sense of the room is this. And it's rare that I take a vote on anything. It's rare that I operate in those Robert's rules kinds of things. I work by this consensus building process.
You have said that being stretched and challenged is an important part of a student's undergraduate experience. Is it also important for staff to be stretched and challenged? And how would you recommend that happen?
I do think it's important. I think it's important in the following way. I think it's important that we create an environment, whether it's for students or faculty or staff, where thoughts and ideas can be explored and you can have a certain level of honesty and frankness about that. But at the same time, doing that in a way that people don't feel individually either threatened or dismissed or made to feel that they can't express themselves. Now, that's idealistic and much easier said than done. But I think that staff can stretch themselves in a number of ways. One, to not be afraid to ask the question, why are we doing it this way? To explore what it would mean if you did something a little differently than what is going on currently. But that takes also then leadership that's willing to entertain an idea that's a little bit different. It's by taking on assignments that are maybe additive to your workload, but can give you both a deep sense of satisfaction when it's done well, and also really can contribute to the community that you're in. Our staff summit that we just had, the staff put that together, and they worked unbelievably hard and collaboratively and creatively to make that a very successful day. And it was a stretch assignment in some ways, it was workload overload in some ways, but it was also hugely beneficial, not just for the division, but even for themselves in that way. So finding those opportunities, taking a class, taking the time. I've been really pleased that this year some of my staff are going to the CSHE lectures, the Center for Studies in Higher Education, and taking the time to avail themselves of speakers that are speaking directly to the work that they're engaged in. And I would encourage staff to do that, to go to the seminar in your department when you can, to take advantage of talks on campus and other opportunities like that are enriching intellectually. Go to the noon concerts in Hertz Hall if you can take that lunch hour time off. There's so much here, and I know it's hard because I get frustrated. Like, oh, I really want to go to that, but I need to do this instead. It's hard. So, but taking those opportunities when you can is really, really important.
When your career is complete, what would you want people to remember you for?
I think I'd like to be remembered in part for all of the, particularly graduate students that I mentored and taught over the years, the research we did together. That's a really important part of my overall career. although not as active in the last few years. I hope that I've helped make Berkeley a better place, that I've been able to contribute to its vitality and to its resilience and its longevity.
So, Cathy, is there anything else you'd like to share with our Wisdom Cafe audience?
Just to be assured in this sometimes very challenging time that this is a great institution, and it has a great set of folks that make it that way, and we're all in this together. It's our institution to take to the next level, and I think we can do it.
Well, thanks so much for your time and for sharing your story with us. Thanks. Cathy.